Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Doug and got another topic on baseball caps for you today. This is something I've been noticing maybe over the past few months especially, but certainly over the past couple of years, and that is the topic of side patches on caps. There was a time where I think that a side patch was a way to commemorate something, and it was kind of added to the cap to mark some kind of special occasion or event in a team's history or a player's history. But now I see that it seems like we're approaching a time where we've got all the side patches that we could possibly need, because especially in the past 6 to 8 months or so, here we are in spring of 2020, I just see tons of new caps coming out with side patches. And that is not just the mass market retailers, but actually it's probably a little bit more the custom or the specialty 5950 vendors that I've talked about before. Places like Hat Club, Hat Heaven, My Fitteds, just side patches all over the place. And I'm starting to wonder, do side patches automatically make a cap better? Or is it something that all these places are just kind of slapping onto caps because they know it's a sure way to drive sales of caps? That's what I kind of like to explore here. So as mentioned, this is something, the side patch that is, that I see mostly used in a commemorative context. The first time I really saw a massive collection of side patches, it was part 2 of a World Series patch collection put out by New Era. I found it at Lids. It was just really incredible assortment of hats in terms of quantity. The Yankees, Cardinals, anybody with a rich World Series history had, up to 10, 11 caps available in this collection. So the next big thing that I saw was either anniversaries or stadium openings, but I've also seen player commemorations, such as a historic player being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I've seen that with Alan Trammell and the Tigers, which is my local team, but there's tons of others out there. Another separate category of those is also what I would call affiliation patches. So you might find some that signify the league or membership designation. Plenty of caps, the Wool Standard Series by New Era recently. You could get either NBA, MLB teams in that, and they would have a patch signifying either American League or National League. They've done that a lot. Just all sorts of side patch types have been grafted onto caps, especially in the past couple of years. So I would say that as a cap fan, I still enjoy side patches when they are done correctly. I think they can add a lot to a cap. Maybe one of the biggest things is that if they're honoring something strong in a team's history, obviously that's a good starting point. But I also think the other big ingredient is when you get a complementary color in the patch design that really complements the overall colorway of the cap and the team that it's on. Now, I have seen some of the World Series or ballpark commemorations. Those seem to be in complementary colors. And so there's a good job of representation there, and they blend in well with the hat. So the other part of that too is I believe that the patch really has to be proportional to the cap overall and the logo that's on the front of the cap, because sometimes some of these patches just dwarf the team logo on the front, and I think that's a little bit missing the point of the patch, because at that point you might as well just put the patch on front of the cap and dispense with the logo, or park that on the side or something. So I think it's important not to let the side patch dominate the way that some of them have when they get too big. Another good thing that works as a recent example is the 2020 Jackie Robinson caps, where it's a simple 42 on a diamond with 2 crossed bats. They actually did the stitching and the artwork of this patch area in complementary colors to the colorway of the team. So that's another way I think it works, and it's just a really nice addition to the cap, and I think those kinds of additions do make the caps more desirable to own and wear. Now, the unfortunate thing is there's also a flip side to all these good additions of side patches, and that's really where I'm getting a little worried that maybe we've hit this peak in side patches. There are some that feel very forced, where the vendor just seems like they're slapping it on because of the craze for side patches. And I would point to a recent release from Hat Club, New York Yankees caps, some with historic logos in spring colors, and they tried to do these around Easter time. And they ended up putting on a side patch on each of these caps. And I thought it was totally unnecessary. They could have been a nice, clean, minimal design release in a striking color in most cases, but they just kind of threw on these side patches. And I actually saw some comments back that said, geez, if you could get these side patches off, I bet you'd sell a lot more of these caps. I mean, I'm sure the market decided on that. I'll bet you they still sold a bunch of caps. But for me personally, I did not feel that was a good addition to that cap release. Sometimes I think they're going to the bottom of the well for some of the things that are trying to be commemorated on these patches. World Series championships or Hall of Fame inductions, those are all great. But sometimes when you go deeper than that and you're trying to find something in the team's history to celebrate with a side patch, some of these things just aren't that big of a deal and they probably don't merit a side patch. Maybe the worst part is the exact opposite of what I said earlier, which is when a side patch works, it's often in a complementary colorway to the rest of the cap. And of course, the other side of that is some of these colorways can go just horribly wrong. Maybe the poster child for this kind of cap design is part of the New Era World Series Ultimate Patch collection of a couple of years ago. There was a 1974 A's home cap that had an awful red, white, and blue, the official World Series logo put onto the side of that classic green and yellow cap. It is just a horrendous collision of style and color. It's probably one of the worst caps I've ever seen. I stayed away from it, and I would say in that same collection there was another one that was equally bad, and that was the old 79 Pirates pillbox cap with, again, the official World Series logo, red, white, and blue, slapped onto the side of a pillbox cap in black and yellow. So you can just see the terrible outcomes with these caps, in my opinion. And, you know, it just makes me wish that sometimes we could bend the rules with some of those official World Series patches to put them in a better color that complements the cap of that team that won the World Series. Now, I mentioned earlier that Hat Club did a collection with spring training patches on the side. I've seen this other times with New Era offers and things that are available at lids when they've done spring training collections. A lot of times when these patches are grafted on, they're just not complementary to the colorway of the team. So now maybe one of the most puzzling ones that I can think of, a side patch edition, is a series put out by the online vendor MyFitteds. They had a series of historical caps and logos, and they were putting World Series patches on these. However, they were offering the teams, in some cases, that lost the World Series and putting a patch on the side that celebrated the winner of that World Series. So when they have had a lineup of the winning team having the same patch, it seems to work pretty well. They had a really nice Pittsburgh Pirates one, for example. But you know, that to me is inexplicable, and it's almost the height of like just slapping a side patch on there just to say it's got a side patch, and then you know, really making a terrible design choice right at the beginning of that cap. So that's all I had for today. Really just wanted to talk about side patches. You know, I'm thinking right now that maybe we've had enough of these things and we've approached our peak of side patch activity. I don't know, I'm curious to see what a lot of my viewers and subscribers think. So if you want to leave something in the comments, you know, are side patches getting it done for you? Do you have a lot more interest in caps that have side patches on them? Or are you more interested in seeing a return to cleaner caps and cleaner designs? So let me know what you think. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.